What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning to the live stream segment of Mikaze Sukasa. And I think today is a very special day, if I'm not mistaken. Especially for those of us who do not have a horse in this race. Because, give me a second. Because we're just going to have to sit back and watch the fuckery. That's what's going to happen. It's cool, you know. I guess we're gonna have to make do with what we got, but it's gonna be a very special show today. Before we get started, I would like to ask you, I should say, to share this video and to like this video. Make sure you share it wherever you can. My apologies for those of you who are waiting here at 11. I sent out a tweet earlier. My cable just went missing. My MacBook cable. I'm almost positive it was because of one of my badass little fur babies. I went to Virginia this weekend, and I had to leave them for longer than usual, put it like that, with my friend. And by longer than usual, I mean more than a couple of hours, because they're spoiled rotten. And so usually what happens whenever I do that is that one of them makes their grandest attempt to retaliate. So it's highly likely that's what took place. But like I said, I'm happy to be here right now. You see I got dressed up all nice and stuff. This is by the way, the reason I'm dressed up all nice, as much as I love you guys, because Pasta, we were supposed to do our show together, but just because of unforeseen circumstances, I couldn't make it out to Las Vegas with them. And so I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and just get fancy so I can impress, Poppy Pasta, Big Poppy Pasta. I'm just sharing this out right now, man. The morning has been unnecessarily stressful for me. Let me see who we got in the chat. We're gonna be here all day, y'all. We're gonna. Ooh, I forgot to share the Facebook. My grandma told me to make sure I share the Facebook. I'm gonna give a few shout outs in a second. If there's any stories, by the way, that you all want me to cover today, make sure that, you can let me know and I can look them up, but preferably if you follow me on Twitter, please send me the stories there via DM. That way I can find them and pull them up pretty easily. I know there's going to be a lot of events unfolding today, and about every hour and a half or so I'll be taking a break. But while I'm taking a break, you all will be looking at some throwback videos where we predict all of this stuff that's happening. And some of you all who have probably been watching the MCSC network for quite some time already know how that game goes. Just like with Ed Markey. Everybody was talking all that shit. Boy, they were talking a lot. One day when I was like, okay, y'all keep thinking Mark is a progressive, he's going to stab y'all in the back. Y'all have zero way to hold him accountable when he wins if y'all just blindly uplift him because ALC told y'all to. And then what happened, ladies and gentlemen? Exactly what we said was going to happen. He ended up endorsing a bunch of neoliberals, of course. So I'm just sharing this to Facebook. I got to make sure my grandma sees it. Y'all know my grandma very proud of me. I love my grandma. My grandma mad close. I need to call her tomorrow too, matter of fact. I got a texting grandma, in case y'all don't know. My grandma is like a techno weenie, low key. She got all the Apple products. She's been like that since I have been cognizant of her technological consumption. But yeah, I'm excited. If you ever want to laugh your ass off, just talking on the phone with my grandma for 30 minutes or more, you'll have a good time. So let me do some shout outs real quick. We got a long day together. You just, turn your TV on, make sure. Oh man, I'm messing up. I don't got my. How are y'all supposed to know where to go if I don't have my text up though? There we go. So we have on the YouTubes. We're on the YouTubes. A-Line FX2, what's going on? Link. Hello. Kimberly S. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Bag. Link. Link A. She said, anyone else get the feeling that they were going to see some crazy shit? I mean, yeah, just a little bit, considering everybody, every candidate in all the parties that support these candidates have made it very clear that if they don't get it their way, they're going to act a whole fool. Like I said, I don't have any dogs in this race, and so it'll be interesting to just see from afar what's gonna happen. Because like I said, things gonna pop off. I mean, to be frank with you, if Biden's clique has already made it clear that they're willing to even announce the race before all the votes are counted. Like, they've already made that clear. And they already made it clear that even if Biden loses, they're going to pretend as if it was because of rigging. Not that Biden's a horrible candidate. So if I was Trump on the other side of that fence, I would be like, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to concede. I'm going to just fight it until y'all prove y'all won. Why not? The odds are, just look at what happened with Jill Stein, who has 1/5,000th of the platform that Donald Trump has. And she was able to have a bunch of successful lawsuits across the country to expose election fraud. So if Trump did the same thing with his judges in place, I mean, let's be honest, right? It would be a smart move strategically. So it's definitely going to be a shit show. Margaret Green. Greetings, American, from Brooklyn. Brooklyn! It's the Rock. Cali Girl 69. Isn't that supposed to be 619? Or were you born in 69? Okay. All right. Ismichi, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Dad is trash today because long lines at the Delaware schools. Thanks, Biden. You would figure that there would be many more voting stations, considering how, especially in the Democratic states, right? Considering how they've basically said if you go near each other, you'll die from COVID. Like, there's no in between. So you would think that they would increase the amount of voting machines, increase the amount of voting stations to reduce the amount of people at these voting stations that could potentially contract the virus. But it looks like they don't care about that stuff, only when it's time to stop everybody from going to work or, things like that. Pop on Aya. I'm going to go with that one. Gray Walker. It would be a hoot if Jesse Ventura won Alaska. Wouldn't it? I wouldn't even be all that surprised. Like, Alaska kind of does what it wants to do. Chris Block. If Biden wins, we're gonna get screwed by China and Wall Street for 4 years straight with complete silence. Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Firepuff, you're gonna be on MCSC all day. Firepuff got the right idea. Hot damn Bojangles. Julie, I think Trump will win and the DNC will finally crash and burn. Sorry about your fur baby. It's okay. My fur baby do some just annoying things. I love them to death though. It's funny because they're mostly well behaved. It's just that they pick, just very interesting times. And of course, I can almost pinpoint it to a time that they wanted my attention and they didn't get it. It's usually what happens. Darren Levy, what's going on? Bag, voted Kanye? Hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Amanda Red Eagle, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I thought I'd throw on something a little nice since today is a special day. Predictions on third parties, any prediction of any of them? They're not going to make the 5% threshold. I would say the person who had the greatest opportunity to do so was Joe Jorgensen, but it's not that she won't hit the threshold because of anything that she personally did. It's just that election fraud is real, and third parties have done little to nothing to address that in any substantive way across the country. I would say the Libertarian Party maybe a little bit more so than the Green Party, but even still. Hit that like button, people. Sarah M. Karina Hasta. Bethlehem. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Donnie Nunn. Thank you very much for the super chat. Went to the polls to see high school friend working. She looks so good, I nearly wrote her name on the ballot. Oh, Lord, baby Jesus. Ah! Oh, man. I needed that. Donnie, how'd you know I needed that this morning? Oh, man. Oh, bro, that just got me weak. Good God almighty. Oh, man. Sorry, that was just too much. That was too much. That was hilarious. I fucked with it, man. So today we're gonna have a concoction of different political takes. We're gonna cover a few political stories, some that have happened over the last couple of days, along with developments, of course, from today. And I would hope some stories that you all send to me. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult for me to scan the interwebs for a story because, well, I'm here with you guys. So I'm going to hopefully find some during my breaks to get, caught up on whatever's been happening. And then I'm also going to look at my DMs, which if you want to send me a story via my DMs, the link to my Twitter is in the link tree URL below. So please do that. Also, in the in-between time, I think that a really good way to figure out how to go forward, to figure out exactly how things have unfolded to the point where they're at today, is to look at how we got here. And so throughout the day, we will be looking at some of my oldest takes, basically predicting exactly how things got here. We're going to be talking about election fraud. We're going to talk for those of you who have not seen my older videos that of just, I mean, honestly, and go back and listen to them. It's kind of crazy because I'm like, damn, I don't remember being that smart. When I say that smart, I mean, I didn't. I mean, yeah, I knew a lot about politics, but based off of the information I had, I was able to make predictions that came into fruition over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And it's sad because I just didn't have a lot of followers or subscribers back then. I only had like 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers, but the information is just as necessary today. And I think that some of it should be heard again. I think a lot of you would enjoy it. You're going to see the many phases of Niko when you're looking at these old videos. You're going to see Niko before he could grow a beard. It's going to be interesting. You're going to see Niko before the long hair. You're going to see Niko with short hair. You're going to see Niko with long hair again, and then slightly shorter hair. And then you're going to see Niko with the blonde patch and Niko with some braids. So, we're just gonna have a lot of fun. I don't know how much we're gonna be looking at polls. We definitely gonna look at exit polling. Not that exit polling is incredibly reliable in this country, but we're definitely gonna be looking at exit polling and things like that as well. And so, like I said, just if y'all have any stories that you'd like to see covered, I definitely want to cover those. Now, one story that I want to cover, first story of the day, is actually about our man Glenn Greenwald. As you all know, at least you should know, Glenn Greenwald he was censored at his own organization, which is bizarre. It's not that bizarre, though. Honestly, it's really not that bizarre. Because if you had been paying attention to what took place over the last year and a half, then you would know that Glenn Greenwald has actually been... The writing was on the wall with The Intercept. The writing was on the wall. And to be frank... Give me 1 second. Let me just get this link up. One second. Anyway, so Glenn Greenwald and The Intercept were definitely at odds, even if it wasn't publicly. And I thought it was pretty obvious to those of us who like have to dig into this stuff regularly. So there was a point where Glenn Greenwald was writing stories that were, you know, maybe favorable towards Tulsi Gabbard, was unapologetic in calling out the Democratic establishment as usual. And on the other side of that fence, The Intercept was bringing on people like Mehdi Hassan and others that were allowing like just straight up smear pieces of Tulsi Gabbard that were engaging in what I would say a little bit of warmongering and fear mongering, a whole lot of capitulation to the establishment. And then on top of that, happening at the exact same time, you saw people like Aaron Matei, Ben Norton, Anya, Max Blumenthal, and a few others who had used to be regular contributors to The Intercept. They all left. And then they created what basically seemingly used to be what The Intercept was, which is the gray zone. Now, when you're like, all of this was happening at the same time. All of this was happening at the same time. I even saw the first time I ever met Glenn Greenwald in person was when he was at a Tulsi Gabbard rally. I mean, looked like he was having a damn good time, if I say so myself. And so when you're thinking about it from that perspective, you kind of like look at like, okay, there's something going on. I thought Glenn was running The Intercept, but there's almost zero stories about Assange coming out, for example. And there was actually something that happened about a year or so ago where I think The Intercept had written something about Assange that kind of caught the attention of a lot of us who were paying attention to that situation. And it wasn't good. And it wasn't Glenn who wrote it either. And so, once again, it just, if you've been paying attention, it kind of comes as no surprise that The Intercept was going to eventually censor Glenn himself, and that Glenn would eventually end up parting ways. And I think that it's the first domino to fall. What do I mean by that? And I'm going to get to this article, but I feel like I have to set this up because it's very important before we read this article. But it's important to remember not just the results, but once again, how do we end up at this particular situation? How do we get to this impasse? When the 2019 primary started, I said, and people just thought I was crazy. They thought I was like, y'all, I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but obviously I have been supporting Tulsi in one form or another since about 2015. And most of all, because she was the foreign policy person on Bernie's campaign and subsequently became the best foreign policy mind in Congress, I was paying attention to how she moved. I remember I was one of the few that reported on the Securing American Elections Act the first time. I was one of the few that reported on the All Fossil Fuels Act. I was one of the few that reported on Tulsi's trip to Syria, and then subsequently, of course, her findings from visiting that trip and then talking to both sides, and then her being vehemently against sanctions because of what you saw the sanctions did to the poor and working class of Syria. And so basically, and of course, her leaving her vice chairwoman position with the DNC to endorse Bernie Sanders after what she saw was happening in 2016. And so I said that there's going to be a lot of smears, because the worst enemy that the establishment could possibly have against them is somebody who had been a part of all of that, right? From the beginning of her career. They were uplifting her. They offered her everything. And all she had to do was play ball, sit down, and shut up. And of course, we know Tulsi Gabbard refused to do that. In fact, she was offered everything and then threw it in their face, or threw it across the room. Like, I don't want that if this is what it takes for me to get it. Now, because of that, she presented a unique threat to somebody like Bernie Sanders, or more so the supporters and the labor that would have benefited from a Bernie Sanders presidency, or did benefit in some way, form, or fashion from his 2020 race. And what do I mean by that? So there's two camps, right? The two camps of Bernie supporters, and we've talked about this. There are the 2015, 2016 supporters, Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, people like myself, Jimmy Dore even, right? Those who had everything to lose when they came out to support Bernie, when they came out to fight for Bernie and his message, when they joined his campaign and basically, if you join Bernie's campaign at that point, then you were telling Hillary Clinton to F off. Basically, that's what was taking place. And so, with those two camps, you had another camp. The 2020 newcomers, the where you been at, that's what I like to refer to them as, the where you been at camp. The AOCs, the Rokanas, I would even say even Ilhan Omar to a large degree, even though I think that Ilhan did actually support Bernie in 2016. Ayanna Pressley, unfortunately. I'm trying to think. I know there's some more out there that I can't think. Oh, Mehdi Hassan probably. Just a lot of people who saw the incredible momentum that Bernie's movement had, and then of course took that, launched it upwards, and people racked out. Bernie raised the most money. Then of course, because of that, anybody attached to his name also raised a hell of a lot of money. The Intercept ended up mostly falling into the 2020 camp, as in, let's pretend like we're progressive. Let's pretend as if we are truly on the side of the people. That is truly not me, us, but we have to make that flip. The same flip the Sunrise Movement made, the same flip the Working Families Party made, the same flip that AOC and others have made. The same flip that we have seen even some elements of Code Pink, Our Revolution, and others. And I predicted that in 2019, you're going to see that Tulsi smeared beyond belief, because she is a threat, because fake is always threatened by real. Inconsistency is, and inconsistent people are always threatened by those who are consistent. The unprincipled are always threatened by the principled. The feckless are always threatened by principled people. The disloyal are always threatened by those who are most loyal. This is just how politics and really life works. And when you saw that, everybody, I think in this chat at least, distinctly remembers what happened in 2019 with that article that got printed in the Intercept about Tulsi being a right-wing, or being the preferred candidate of quote-unquote right-wing Hindu nationalists. And it was based off of nothing but the fact that those donors had Hindu last names and were from India. That's the only proof that they had. It's pretty bad, right? It's pretty racist, pretty bigoted. And you know how I know that's how they use what they based their analysis off of? Because they were very clear in the editor's note at the bottom of that article. And what we did see, however, is that just like in every other scenario where Tulsi is smeared, people use that article and ran with it. They used that Jacobin article smearing her and ran with it. So why am I bringing up all of this stuff? Because I'm bringing up Jacobin, I'm bringing up the Intercept, I'm bringing up Glenn Greenwald and his just him telling the truth about the Intercept, to remind people that we didn't just end up here where Tulsi went from the most beloved to the most hated. We didn't just end up here where Bernie is constantly forgiven, where AOC has been painted as the standard bearer of progressivism, where Nina Turner is a victim of sexism and racism. Ilhan Omar went through similar things by the Democratic Party. And AOC can be as silent as can be, but all of a sudden no one in Jacobin and no one in The Intercept and other publications like those feel the need to tell the truth about this stuff. They never called them out. They never held AOC to account. They never held Ilhan Omar to account for some of the things that she has done. But once again, I call it accountability porn. There was this weird addiction, seemingly. I don't know if it's an addiction, you call it an addiction, a fetish, whatever. But it was weird, where everybody felt like, we gotta hold Tulsi accountable. I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I remember when she said that she wanted the single payer plan, but she wanted to call it something different than Medicare for all. She called it Medicare Choice in the beginning, but then subsequently changed it to Single Payer Plus. And as somebody who saw at least the majority of what her plan, what her bill was going to look like and what her plan was going to look like, I know for a fact it was better than Bernie's. Just off of the simple fact that Bernie's plan allowed you to opt out of the Medicare system if you didn't like how it was working. In other words, the thing that makes Medicare for all work is what? Everyone pays into the system and everybody uses the system. But nobody was looking at whether or not, which this is why, I've worked on policy, I've worked in the health insurance industry, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff. Nobody decided to look at, well, hold on. I know that the people can't opt out of paying into the Medicare system for Bernie's Medicare. What about the actual providers? And the providers could opt out. And Tulsi's plan eliminated that. Tulsi's plan also accounted for the lack of nurses and the lack of doctors and the immense amount of debt that are, or potential debt that's prevented doctors or what would be doctors from taking that extra step, from instead of being a PA or a nurse practitioner and becoming a MD, and then taking the subsequent step, if I don't want to be just an MD, to be a surgeon or a specialist. The mounting debt was, and we had a plan in the bill to address that and simultaneously address immigration by having a certain grace period of you go to medical school, we'll pay for your medical school, and you'd be able to get in a certain amount of years a citizenship as long as you practice in the States. And we would even have grants for people to start their own private practices so that the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. When I tell you Tulsi's Single Payer Plus plan was about to be the best plan ever introduced in like her OFAC, right? Seems like the when it comes to existential crises in this country, which I would classify as the climate change crisis, healthcare crisis, and the election integrity crisis, Tulsi had the best plans on all of these. But she was smeared anyway. No one wanted to hear the facts. What was funny is when you would see, obviously the very beginning of the election, I was not Tulsi's surrogate, but towards the middle, it was, people knew by that point that I was Tulsi's surrogate, and I was never called on. I'm the only one in all of independent media who's actually worked in health insurance. And I made that very clear whenever people in independent media tried to argue with me about shit they've never even worked on before. And yet I was never called on to clarify her plan, even though I was given full permission. And people were like, hey, Tulsi said y'all can call me on, people. Y'all have a question about the plan, I can explain it to you. Nope. They want to have me on. Why? Because the point wasn't, they weren't really upset that Tulsi introduced a new plan. They weren't upset because they thought it was going to be worse than Medicare for all. They just were upset that she had the living audacity to do something that was different than Bernie Sanders. because that's what it always came down to, is how dare Tulsi be for UBI and not federal jobs guarantee? How dare she? Because Bernie supports federal jobs guarantee, therefore, and Yang supports UBI. Like, except for Tulsi supported UBI since at least 2017, and no one had a problem with it then. And then, of course, when we're looking at the federal jobs guarantee, how much good would a federal jobs guarantee have done in the middle of a pandemic? Just out of curiosity, everybody. Now, my gripe with Tulsi in this particular department was the fact that she didn't support both UBI and federal jobs guarantee, because both of them were absolutely possible, and in my opinion, both of them are necessary. That's a critique. That's a criticism. That's a genuine criticism. But what we saw was people, the Jacobin crowd, the Intercept crowd, and the like, smear, and kill off ally after ally after ally. And then, if I'm being honest, create this insulation, this barrier around Bernie, AOC, and anyone who put themselves in Bernie's camp, so that they then felt, well, yeah, we can screw over and undermine every coalition that we would have thought to make, which would have made sense to make, right? Because as we saw at the end of the primary, what happened? The establishment had no problem coalescing. But when you're finding out that Bernie didn't even ask Andrew Yang for his endorsement, not personally, did not even pick up the phone. Andrew Yang said, well, I wanted to endorse Bernie, but he didn't even call. Never reached out the entire campaign, actually. To my knowledge, he didn't reach out to Marianne Williamson either. And I know for a fact he denied Tulsi's endorsement. And I do know, at least for one of those three, if they would have reached out, if the campaign would have reached out and said, hey, I know what you want. I know that this election is important to you and why you're staying in the race, but can we reach some sort of agreement where we can coalesce behind me, if I'm Bernie Sanders, and we'll get you a cabinet position based on what your expertise are. He didn't do that. And he didn't feel the need to. He didn't feel the need to listen to Tulsi when it came to election integrity. He didn't feel the need to listen to Marianne Williamson when it came to the issue of reparations and other things. Didn't feel the need to listen to Andrew Yang Andrew Yang has a lot of problems, but his understanding of how the tech industry is going to affect jobs is second to none, at least was second to none out of everybody else in that field. And you could have used all of those things. But there was a narrative siege that took place that made Bernie feel, to be frank, very, very cocky. So whenever it came time to hold him accountable, what happened? He was silent on election integrity, election fraud, all the election fraud that he experienced, except for in this very specific case of Iowa, where it was just so indisputable that he suffered from election fraud that, of course, he's had to say something. But how do you not have lawyers in every single state? How are you not paying attention to all the major changes that have been going on in these states after the 2016 election, like caucus states switching to voting machines with no paper ballot backups? That should be something that you should have been challenging. And no one wanted to hold him accountable for this stuff. No one wanted to hold him accountable when he said that he didn't believe Palestinians should have equal rights within Israel, because in his mind that means it would be the end of Israel. That's racist. There is zero other way to put that. They didn't want to hold him accountable when he said, I'm talking about Canada's democratic socialism, not like that dirty Venezuelan democratic socialism or that dirty Bolivian socialism. I mean the white kind, the Scandinavian. He said Canada and Scandinavia. What? They deliver groceries to your door in Venezuela, bro. Like, if people would have held Bernie accountable sooner, like Glenn Greenwald did, like I did, like the Combo Couch did, like Robbie Yeager and Jimmy, who gets a lot of flack for that. Graham held him accountable to a large degree. But even there, there was some people who felt like they had to, like Tulsi was the one who Like everybody kept saying she was at 1%, but yeah, everybody was obsessed with her. Like it was a coordinated attack to make sure that her consistency in the most important areas do not overshadow nor call attention to the inconsistencies by Bernie Sanders in those exact same areas. And I think that it's important to remember every person, publication, etc., who basically set the stage so that we're in a scenario where we have Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. People, we have Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, when all Bernie had to do was just show that he had the balls to fight back, to fight for those dollars from poor and working class people who needed every single cent that they gave. They needed that money, and a lot of people gave him that money because they said, well, you know, I'm investing in my future. They thought they were investing in somebody who's going to fight for them. And instead, this is where we're at. And independent media and those who uplifted them, TYT, how did I forget TYT? Y'all messed up for letting me forget that. But independent media is largely responsible for that. And I don't think there's really any disagreement there. There's not. It's really not debatable. So let me see if I can pull up this article for you guys so we can check it out. But I just wanted to, the reason, like I said, is we got a long show today, so we're gonna be diving into context today. Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm all about some context, always. And there's just so much that we don't get context about, in my opinion. Because everybody's so, you know, I want the short rundown. Like, yeah, that's cool, but like the context is kind of important. When people ask me, for example, as usual, well, I don't understand. Why would you support Bernie over Tulsi? Trust me, if I wanted to make a lot of money this year in 2019, bro, you know how profitable being a black Bernie supporter is. Damn near as profitable at the time, at least, is damn near as profitable as being a black Trump supporter who switched from Bernie. Like, for real. Oh, really quick, who do we got? Yeah, I want to check out the other chats. We got Holly Horn in the other chat. Audie Presley, what's going on? She said, Audie Presley said that the censoring of the Biden article made it the talk of the internet. Isn't that usually how it goes? I was just talking to my wife about this today. Like, it's funny when you look at who, like out here in South Florida, who's a Trump supporter. And it's a lot of people who just, they see it as a sign of being rebellious. They have no idea a lot of what Trump has or has not done. They don't know the good things or the bad things that he's done. They know that he's universally hated by the media, universally hated by the establishment. And the United States has developed a culture over history that basically it celebrates rebellious people. This is the norm. So they haven't even realized that, like, playing that moral, like, think about marijuana. I would say that more people smoked because it became such a point by the U.S. government and by police departments, et cetera, to smoke. Like you got to stop smoking. Why? Because it's bad for you. So the more they see, the more commercials they see, the more people who shame them for it, the more it becomes. It's like drinking, right? So I didn't drink until I was 23. However, I know a lot of you all did. I ain't gonna snitch on nobody, but I know a lot of you did. Some of y'all drink a little bit too much. Maybe kill a couple of brain cells on the way to 21. But I didn't drink until I was 23, but I know a lot of people did. And I remember just being young and at parties, seeing how just absolutely shit-faced people would get. And it was generally always people who were under 21. And I would always think to myself, I don't understand why they would feel the need to get this drunk all the time, or at least the times that I see them drinking at the parties, whatever. And then you realize when people turn 21, well, I can drink whenever I want to. I don't need to consume as much alcohol as humanly possible just to, you know, because I'm not 21, because the next time I don't know when the next time I'll be drinking. I don't need to hold up bottles and pictures every time I get drunk to show off how rebellious I am. When you're 21, it's fun to drink, but it ain't cool to drink anymore when you're 21. And so I see a lot of people who are supporting Trump bizarrely enough, just because he's considered to be the rebellious one out of everyone, even though a lot of times he capitulates to the establishment much more than he should. Guo Mashi, thank you very, very much. Matthew Pera, a Pied Piper candidate. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. All right, let's get down to this article. So this was written in New York Magazine in their like intelligencer side, and it was actually written yesterday, I think. Oh no, day before yesterday. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. The smears on Glenn have been just nothing short of hilarious, in my opinion. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. The reason I said they've been hilarious is because you can't, there's nothing you could say to justify what happened at the Intercept. Nothing. The only thing that you could say that would justify what happened at the internet, or justify in quotations, makes you sound like a weird cultist of the Democratic Party and the establishment in general. So let's check this article out. This was written, in case you want to go tag him, by Peter Stern. I'm not saying go tag him on Twitter and tell him how ridiculous this article was, but please go tag him on Twitter and let him know how ridiculous this article was. So on Thursday, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Glenn Greenwald denounced The Intercept, the news outlet he co-founded 6 years ago, and announced his immediate resignation. Best known for his reporting on NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, Greenwald they are claiming that he claimed The Intercept was deliberately silencing him to protect Joe Biden. The final precipitating cause of my resignation is that The Intercept's editors, in violation of my contractual right of editorial freedom, censored an article I wrote this week, refusing to publish it unless I remove all sections critical of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. The candidate vehemently supported by all New York-based Intercept editors involved in this suppression effort. Glenn Greenwald wrote in a Substack post detailing his reasons for leaving. Glenn Greenwald's claim that The Intercept is in the tank for Biden baffled many of his now former colleagues. I don't know of anyone on the editorial staff who really likes Biden. Really? Intercept National Security Editor Vanessa Jazari told Intelligencer. She said another Intercept writer who requested anonymity, if you look at the way lots of people on the site have written about Biden, the way Greenwald describes the site and its vehement support of Biden is nonsense. No. So what they're referring to when you're talking about the way people have written about Biden, you mean the way that people wrote about Biden, last year? Yeah, guess what? A lot of people who wrote about Biden, who made videos about Biden, who said that Joe Biden was an absolute non-starter. A lot of people changed their minds. That's what happens. We call that flippity flopping, floppity flipping, flip flop da da. That's what happens whenever the money becomes an issue, whenever it's time to be principled. This is not new for the left or for the Democrats. So yeah, if you want to point to something that was written a year and a half ago about Joe Biden, I'm sure there was plenty written, just like there was plenty written about Hillary Clinton a year and a half before she won. But then of course people fall in line. So, and I seriously doubt you're basically saying that Glenn Greenwald is making up things, which by the way, if I can recall, and I'm gonna see if I can find the article later, I think he did another article outlining the email exchanges. Michael Goddard, thank you very much for the super chat. The propaganda is so damn strong. Nice jacket, much appreciated. Good luck, Mike, I appreciate you. Let's continue with the article. Now, it says here that, and in a searing statement, Intercept editor-in-chief Betsy Reed let's be honest. Somebody named Betsy Reed sounds like they're about to just shove your mouth full of shit every time they open their mouth. I ain't never met a Betsy I liked. So the Betsy Reed mocked the preposterous charge that the Intercept's editors and reporters, with the lone noble exception of Glenn Greenwald, have betrayed our mission to engage in fearless investigative journalism because we have been seduced by the lure of a Joe Biden presidency. The Intercept is well known for its hostility toward the Democratic establishment in general, and Biden in particular. During the primary, let me go ahead and edit that part for them. Toward the end of the Democratic primary, the Intercept published numerous pieces about allegations. Towards the end of the primary. So basically what they're saying, they're just making my point for me. No one is saying the Intercept and Jacobin and, all these other, the Vouchers of the world, the David Doles of the world, the Anna Kasparians and the Jenks of the world. Nobody is saying that they didn't attack Joe Biden or hold him accountable during the primary. Even AOC held Joe Biden accountable during the primary. And went from holding him accountable to, well, Tara Reid didn't say she wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden in NPR interviews. That's what happened. AOC went from I can't possibly support Biden to, well, Tara Reid's going to vote for Biden. What? The people have lost it, bro. These people have lost it. So it says that while Greenwald's sudden resignation shocked both his colleagues and the broader world of media, his eventual break with The Intercept was all but inevitable. See, Greenwald, who did not respond to requests for comments, had already begun to plan his post-Intercept career. According to his Substack post, he spent months in preliminary talks with other journalists and potential financial backers about starting a new media outlet. I'm frankly surprised that he has lasted as long as he did, because he's clearly not a team player. Intercept deputy editor Roger Hodge told Intelligencer, he's not somebody who can submerge himself in an organization to be part of a larger whole. Okay, so, people, correct me if I'm wrong. Not a team player. He's not somebody who can submerge himself in an organization and be part of a larger whole. Doesn't that seem like they're actually just saying, well, he won't capitulate to the establishment. He won't do as he is told for the benefit of those trying to, get money, get clout. He won't play ball. He won't give up his principles. Am I crazy? Because that's what I got from that. Sounds like that's exactly what they're trying to say. And to be honest, it's Glenn, so they're probably right. He's probably not willing to play ball. Which is a good thing in case you were curious. It is not a bad thing that Glenn Greenwald does not want to play ball. But this is what he is dealing with. A deputy editor saying he's not a team player. What does that even mean? Seriously, if you're going to allege that, they're basically trying to say that Glenn is selfish. So if you're going to allege something like that, what exactly does that mean? Can you give an example? Because you should have to provide an example if you're going to make a claim like that. Spoiler alert, there's no examples. Anyway, since the beginning, Greenwald had been separated from the Intercept's U.S.-based newsroom, having lived in Brazil for over a decade. As a result, most of the staff had little to no interaction with him, according to the Intercept staffers who spoke with the Intelligencer. Even as the Intercept built itself into a full-fledged news organization, complete with robust editing complete with robust editing like the kind Glenn Greenwald balked at. Really? Robust editing, meaning like the kind that leads to Joe Biden critiques being removed from the paper right ahead of the election. Come sure, if it's Glenn who does his research, he was probably going to write about what? The Hunter Biden stuff, the China stuff, the Ukrainian stuff, the Russia stuff, the everything stuff. I mean, what do you want? Pick a year, any year. That's basically how Joe Biden's career has gone. Pick a year, any year, any year. I can tell you a horrible thing Joe Biden has done every single year. That's his career. So once again, it wasn't just a matter of Joe Biden criticisms being removed, but it's when they were removed, what was removed, and in the fashion they were removed from a man who damn owns and founded, or I guess he doesn't own it anymore, but at least founded the damn organization. It said that the co-founder remained apart, writing and publishing his own columns with little to no editorial oversight. And by the way, that was because of his contract. He could have chosen to be a part of the mix, part of the conversation, the daily, weekly conversation about what we should be covering and what stories we were working on, Hodge said, but he never did that. He always held himself aloof from the newsroom and never ever soiled himself with the day-to-day business of news gathering. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. But isn't like Glenn basically a one-man show out there in Brazil where he has to focus on his own news gathering and like what I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I get it. Like we live across the country. Me and my team live across the country from each other. You know, and some people live in Texas, Ohio, California, obviously. It's hard to talk every single day when you are living across the country. Like, we got stuff to do. We got news and research to do. What the hell does any of these ad hominem attacks have to do with editors removing content just because of who they criticize? This is what we call gaslighting. Say it with me now. Gaslighting. Okay? If his criticism of Joe Biden was illegitimate or wrong or misleading, then why don't you say that? Why are you justifying removing pieces from the articles that Glenn was putting out by just saying, well, Glenn wasn't a team player? What does that got to do with anything? Nothing. It don't got nothing to do with nothing. Facts. It don't have anything to do with anything. And they knew this. They know this. That's why they keep gaslighting. Oh, it gets better though. Ryan Grimm. You all know Ryan Grimm. Flip-flopper extraordinaire. Pretends to be... I remember one time Sophia caught Ryan basically claiming that Bernie was going to pardon Assange and that he was standing with whistleblowers. Like, he put out an article or a podcast, I can't remember which one, where the title alluded to that. And then Sophia called him out, and it forced Ryan Grimm to change the title because it was never about the truth. It was never about honest reporting. It was about riding the wave, bro. You got to ride that wave. Ride the wave for the big bucks. Otherwise, trust me, Ryan Grimm is like a third of the journalists, not even, that Glenn Greenwald is. He would be made the bureau chief for The Intercept. They have a bunch of Greenwalds in charge of these places. So anyway, Ryan told the Intelligencer that Greenwald's conflict with The Intercept was part of a larger culture clash between Greenwald, a civil libertarian who objects in the strongest possible terms to any limitations on freedom of speech, and some of his younger left-leaning colleagues who believe they have a responsibility to call out and try to shut down what they consider to be hateful or harmful speech. What? Greenwald wrote that he eventually concluded The Intercept itself embraced this so-called cancel culture, which they absolutely did, and being reluctant to publish anything like his Biden column that might lead to accusations of aiding Trump and his supporters. There's a phenomenon that exists everywhere, from corporate America to the media, where politics of younger people are different from the politics of some older people in these places, Grimm said. The whole woke debate that is played out endlessly on Twitter, he felt like there was too much of that going on at the Intercept. Really, bro? I just can't. I can't deal with this. They're full of it. They're full of it. So, just out of curiosity, did anybody see anywhere? We had read about 3/4 of the article. Did anybody see anywhere anything that said Glenn is tripping, in more or less words? Here is what Glenn wanted to say about Biden. It wasn't true. It was inaccurate. It was misleading, etc., etc., etc. And that is why we had to remove it. And we made this very clear to Glenn, and Glenn did not like this fact, and that's why he decided to leave. Where are we getting this thing about cancel culture? It's the same shit. We believe we have a responsibility to cut out harmful speech. Glenn may not be for cancel culture, which most sane people aren't, but Glenn makes his thoughts pretty public about most cultural disputes. And there's never been a discussion about that. He, in fact, talks about dangerous rhetoric. Unfortunately for the Democrats, it's a lot of the times just because of the nature of the job. When you are on the independent side as a leftist, you are calling out cancel culture because it's usually leading to the canceling of leftists and leftist populists who are actually doing their best to be honest and independent and objective. That's the only time Glenn might have said something about that. So, what does that mindset, that cultural debate that Ryan was referring to, what the hell does that have to do with illegitimately removing a co-founder's column or editing out criticisms by Biden or about Biden by said co-founder? What does any of that have to do with literally anything? Nothing. That's what. Nothing at all. Like Jimmy and Aaron said, they're doing all this creative writing BS because they can't argue anything Glenn was saying. They can't argue the substance. You are 100% correct. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. Ryan Grimm is full of it. That Betsy woman, full of it. Like, even the article, trust me, if that article, because they linked some stuff, right? They said, you can look at criticisms about Joe Biden coming out of the Intercept from as early, from as recent as the primary. The same primary that was over effectively in March. It's November, bro. It is November. And a lot of things have come out since March. Some stuff that hasn't come out have just been reaffirmed. Things that we have already known. North American Ape, thank you. Thank you very much for that super chat, by the way. Make sure we don't have any super chats on the other YouTubes. By the way, really quick, while I have you all here, make sure y'all follow my other YouTube page. This is just content from myself, from Niko, separate from the MCSC network, to make sure that we have, we want to be able to make sure y'all get as many notifications as possible. I also cover, I'm going to be putting some different content on that page. Just something a page I'm going to be having a lot of fun with, to be honest with you, that I'm really excited about. Hopefully, I'll be able to have a lot of fun with it as long as I'm not too overwhelmed by this nonsense. But yeah, please go follow that page. I'm going to give some more shout outs to people. We have a few people over here in the smaller channel. President Jafar, thanks for tuning in. I see you came over there. Lola J, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Well, I'm still getting political calls. Why am I still getting political calls? We're also live on the Rock Fin. I shouldn't be getting no political calls. We have Sarah Wagner. What's going on, Sarah? Sarah's on Rockfin. Jenny Butcher is on Rockfin. She says 3:55 a.m. in Queensland, Australia. What is you doing up? Woo! Is it the full moon? Hold up. Is it a full moon in Australia? When you have a full moon on one spot on the earth, is it the same full moon all over the world? I don't know these things. Maybe I could tell me. Anna West. Tara Reid is voting for Trump. Is she? Damn. I knew that she wasn't going to vote for Biden. I thought she said she was thinking about, like, she was not going to vote for Trump, but she was like, I'm not voting for a Democrat. I know that. So maybe she is voting for Trump. Maybe at this point she's just so sick of the Democratic Party that she's like, whatever. Screw those guys. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Taking my ball and going home. So, while we're in the in-between time, make sure that you all go ahead and subscribe to Rockfin if you want to get our Rockfin Premium show. You can do that. You know how you do that? You do that by if you have a okay, this is weird. Sorry, I'm just looking at this whole whatever. Anyway, if you're watching from your TV, you just pull out your little phone or your iPad, you pull out your phone, bong bong, scan that QR code with your camera, bong bong, a link will pop up, bong bong, and then you can become a premium subscriber. And of course, we have our premium content all over Rockfin. Every Thursday from 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, we have a Rockfin premium show. And of course, once again, it's not just us. It is myself, Pasta and Fiorella from the Convo Couch, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Heartlands Media. Shout out to Kid and Daniel and the crew. Right now, we have 85 premium subscribers. And then we have 9,325 followers on Rockfin. So our goal today is to get 100 premium subscribers. And anyone who becomes a premium subscriber today gets to have a phone call or video chat, whichever you prefer, with me for 30 minutes. But you have to subscribe today. So you can either use a QR code or click on the link in the description, or, you know, if you for some reason don't have access to any of those things, which I don't see why you wouldn't, but either way, you can go, of course, to rockfin.com/Niko. And of course, you also want to follow us on Odyssey, which is the kind of like the heir apparent for YouTube specifically. Very similar setup, but open source, no favorable algorithms towards the mainstream media. And it's dope, especially if you're a creator. So say if you're a creator who's been thinking about coming, like you've been looking for other places, but I know that Rockfin is very exclusive when it comes to their creators. They're very picky about who they let in. There's a reason for that. But Odyssey lets anybody join, just like YouTube, and anybody can create an account just like YouTube, and you're instantaneously monetized, unlike YouTube. Yeah. And a lot of people are already over there already. A lot already over there. Kim Iverson's over there. Richie Medhurst is going to be over there. He's also on Rockfin, of course. Even some of the neo-progressives are already over there, which is kind of surprising because, you know, neo-progressives like to stay in their little YouTube bubble because they get the benefits from YouTube. But like David Pakman's already over there. So it's got 1 million users already. Over 1 million, well over 1 million. And they are anticipating that there are going to be a lot more over the next couple of weeks as they do their official release and release the app in that same week. So really exciting stuff going on over there. And we are anticipating that we'll be locked down and shut down at some point because this election is going to get real ugly really fast. And so for not today, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'm going to be live streaming here, but I will be posting clips exclusively to Odyssey and Rockfin. You know, to maybe try and prevent myself from getting kicked off the internet. So make sure that you go there and subscribe to Odyssey, follow us on Rockfin. And if you want the premium content, once again, the premium content. And by the way, if you endorse one person on Rockfin, just one One freaking person, bro. Guess what you get? Everybody's premium content. And everybody gets to benefit from that. So, who else what new people we got in the comment section? John to Emily transition vlog. Go Jimmy Dore. Shout out to my man's Jimmy. Lizzie Bones. Niko for president. Why would you wish that evil upon me? You want me to be sure? You see my hair? I already got enough gray hair. You can't see it. But I've been graying since I was 13 years old. So the only way I'll be president, they're gonna have to move the White House to Miami because I'm not leaving. I left again this weekend. Shout out to my baby brother, by the way. My baby brother just got engaged. I know I told him not to do it, but I couldn't talk him off the ledge. So we're here now. No, I'm playing. But my baby brother just got engaged this weekend, and I was the party photographer, and we just had a blast. And my brother had a blast. I'm very happy for him. So sorry, ladies. Another house brother, the only house brother of age, is taken off the market. So I'm so sorry. And my brother's good looking too. My brother's really good looking. I can't even show y'all a picture yet, but I might show him one later. My brother's really good looking guy, man. You know, get it from my mother. My mother's a very, very beautiful young woman, and my grandma is too. So, very smart guy too. And so anyway, when I left to Virginia, and like we got there, and I'm looking around, and I'm wearing a jacket. So y'all know, for those of you who are, big MTSC fans, y'all know how I feel about jackets. I don't like wearing one. In fact, most of the time I'm walking around without a shirt because I live in Miami, and that's what you can do when you live in Miami. Can't go to the beach. Can't eat outside. Can't just walk around anywhere because you have to drive literally everywhere in Virginia. And I'm like, wow. People actually choose to live in places that are not South Florida. This is weird. The only places you can that have like good food are basically just fast food and franchise places, which is not the case in Miami. You can accidentally walk into a great restaurant in Miami and not spend a lot of money to eat. So, and of course, as I'm in Virginia freezing my ass off because my brother, he looks at me straight in my face. It says, we don't keep the house any warmer than 69 degrees. Well, I could have fought him right then and there. I say, excuse y'all know when I lowered my air conditioner to 69 degrees? When I mean it got to be hot. And I'm lowering it to 69 degrees to be cool. And by the way, that's cold as hell for me. If it became 69 degrees right now outside, I'd be pissed. I'd be outside in a long sleeve shirt and a jacket and some Timberlands. I don't wear Timberlands, but you get my point. Moral of the story is, I love Miami. I'm not going to be president if they don't move the White House to Miami. First things first, people. Let's worry about the important things. Miami White House. Start campaigning for it. Who else we got? GTA 5, man. You voted for Green. If you voted for Howie, I guess y'all know how I feel about Howie. He definitely cheated to win the Green Party nomination. But he's not an accused serial rapist, so I guess that's something. I can't even say he's not racist, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But he's not an accused serial rapist, so like I guess that's something. Steve Mancha, Kat Terrell, John Jacobson wrote Tulsi in happily. That's what I'm talking about. Alfonso Hernandez. Candidates claim to be independent of their party should denounce the DNC and GOP and claim any third party or returning to their original party. Okay, I understand that. Oh, you're saying people who are already elected should switch once they get elected. Yeah, I've actually thought about that. I don't know how that would go. I'm genuinely curious because what happens is if you switch party affiliations, if you're in office, and then the election comes up again, there are different rules for different parties for different states. And so, like, what if you're running in a state where they have very strict rules when it comes to making the ballot for a Green Party or Libertarian candidate? And if you switch and the Green Party didn't make the ballot for your election, like then you can't possibly maintain your seat. Like, so I'm curious as to how that would work. Black Sheep Theory, what's up, Marcellus, man? I appreciate it. Thank you, very good. I'm just trying to get like you when I grow up, bro. Steve McCormick, if people have resorted to voter shaming you, they have already failed in their arguments. 100%. Michael Williams, thank baby Jesus. These election vote texts are going away. Man, you know, I was thinking about that earlier, and I guess I prematurely celebrated because, boy, ever since I said that, y'all wanna know how my 134. Hi, Niko. I'm Chelsea. Volunteer with Planned Parenthood. Votes in NC. Breaking. Today is the last day of proceeding on these texts. Election day. I'm Lauren with People's Action. I'm Ashley with Equality NC. I don't even live in North Carolina anymore. I was never even registered to the Democratic Party in North Carolina, so I have no idea why they are texting me or how the hell they got my number. Team Bernie, it's election day. Bernie, look now. Y'all better not damn text me about no Joe Biden. Don't make me go on a 30-minute rant about how atrocious it is that you would even think that it's okay to text your supporters about voting for a segregationist rapist. Okay? Don't even, bro. Just don't even. Got Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore just texted me, actually. I texted Jimmy and said, let the shit show begin. And he sends me a gif of a kid picking up, like shoveling dirt and then throwing it on his head. I did something. Man, and I got a bunch of phone calls this morning. One from New York, one from Forest City, North Carolina. I didn't even know there was a Forest City in North Carolina. So maybe I celebrated you too prematurely regarding no more texts. But hopefully after today, there will be no more texts. Unfortunately, it is the way of the world that everyone texts you for everything they want now. So now, just like our Gmail accounts, we're going to have to start ignoring text messages like we ignore emails. Uncontrolled opposition. He says like 59 degrees. Robbie. Boy, 59 Nope. Can't do no 59 degrees. Nope. Wouldn't get anything done at all. Michael Goddard. I didn't vote. No one earned my vote. And I'm not going to read that last part because I might get blocked from Twitter. That's derogatory language, Michael. But I appreciate the super chat, though. And you know what? If no one in your state, I know that Gloria LaRiva was not available in everybody's state, but if no one in your state earned your vote, then guess what, man? You have every damn right not to vote. Every right. And if anyone shames you for that, well, then tell them they can kiss your ass, Michael. That's how I feel. So here's what we're going to do right now. Oh, let me make sure that everything is set up appropriately. I need to make sure so I'm going to take a little quick break. Going to check out some stories. Like I said, if you have any stories that you want to see today, any polls you want either confirmed or debunked, I am here. Send me a DM. But we are also going to be looking at some throwbacks, people. I'm looking at some throwbacks because you got to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been. Oops, went to the wrong one. Excuse me. Was one of my videos taken down? Hold up. Y'all, I think like one of my most popular videos got taken down. Like one of my very, very first videos. Okay, here we go. Hopefully it's still there. Hey everybody, okay. Definitely feel like you guys should be able to hear the video. Nice. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna play 3 videos from when I exposed the Bernie Sanders campaign corruption. Not Bernie himself, but the moles that were in Bernie Sanders campaign. That was crazy. If you watch these videos, they're really quick. One's 8 minutes, one's 12 minutes, another one's 8 minutes. But if you watch these videos, you'll know exactly why I'm so adamant about this whole idea of live and let live. Oh man, Bernie didn't mean to. Bernie didn't know any better. Bernie, I know that he knew better. I know that he knew some of the stuff that was going on, and that he just didn't do enough to stop it, no matter how many people kind of went down, if you will. Like, I got attacked, I got smeared, all kinds of stuff, just for showing and telling what I knew was happening. So, all right. So enjoy. I'm gonna take a little break, a little lunch break, and I'll be back. I'm gonna look up some stories, and if you have a story, like I said, make sure that you let us know. In the meantime, make sure, like I said, we're trying to hit our goal. 100 subscribers. We're at 85 right now. So if you get 100 premium subscribers for Rockfin, that's our goal for today. $9.99 a month. You know, all of our premium content, and you support independent media, which we know we're going to need a lot of, considering this election is about to be a shit show. All right. Hey everybody. As a lot of you know, I made a video yesterday essentially exposing a lot of the corruption that we've seen going on in North Carolina for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Just really quick, just because a lot of people are trying to figure out who I am. My name is Niko House. I am the president of North Carolina College Students for Bernie Sanders. I'm also the president for Carolina Students for Bernie Sanders at UNC. I'm also a retired service veteran. I served 3 years in the military as a paralegal. Currently at UNC, finishing up my undergrad. I'm a double major in Portuguese and political science. I'm going to law school because a lot of people have been asking me exactly who I am, so that's why I'm doing it. So that's why I was telling you all. But, so I'm making this video so y'all can have a more concise version of what exactly was happening in North Carolina. So I'm going to be speaking a little bit fast, so try to keep up, but a lot of this stuff is extremely important. We want to get this out to Bernie as quick as humanly possible. So, firstly, we were one of the most organized states in the country, and I don't mean just from the perspective of only volunteers or college students. I mean, we worked together, the college students and the volunteers, in a way that Bernie said he hadn't seen, personally said in a private meeting that we had, that he hadn't seen in the entire nation up until that point. What we had was a solid foundation. We had a lot of volunteers, a lot of people holding meetings. We were having watch parties on regular basis. All we said we needed was material. And that's really all we wanted. And we just needed someone here to answer the questions, to make sure that we weren't doing anything illegally while we were doing things for the campaign. Fast forward, we finally get our first our first staff member here. We have our conference calls, and then we start going to work. However, it didn't work out like that. Immediately after we get our first staff member, events start being canceled. We had a rally against student debt that was canceled, and we were told that they were going to be surrogates. That's what they were waiting for. I and UNC at Chapel Hill were going to sponsor this event, and all the campaign was supposed to do was provide surrogates. However, but because of how big the event was projected to be, the campaign wanted to be really involved. Didn't work out like that. They canceled the event after they told us they were going to get us surrogates, after they tried to convince me that they needed permits, and I knew they didn't need permits, and they tried to tell me they needed permits from the campaign, and I knew the campaign didn't interfere with volunteer events. So I knew it was BS, but I wanted to see how far that they were going to take it, and they really did cancel my event. And at the same day they said that they canceled the event, that they swore they couldn't get surrogates to speak at it, they opened up an office and had a grand opening event on the same day that they tried to move my event too. So our event was originally supposed to be held on a Thursday. They said, no, let's do it on a Sunday. If you know anything about the South, you don't hold rallies on a Sunday in the South and expect people to show up. this is like, that just doesn't make any sense. So whatever, I just kind of blew it off because I thought it was just incompetence, and we moved forward. Come to find out, we have another event for HK on J, which is it's an activism movement. I don't go into the details for time's sake, but that event got canceled. Not only did that event get canceled, but we were ordered to take the event off of our Facebook and stop advertising for it. And the Hillary campaign was not only not ordered to do so, but they kept it on there and they kept promoting Hillary's campaign through HK on J. And we were threatened if we don't take we were told we have to take the video or take the advertising down for Bernie or else. These are facts. When this person came in and took over the offices, one of our greatest volunteers in the state and greatest organizers in the state and best leaders voluntarily goes to Iowa to help out Bernie, does amazing things, comes back in the office that he helped set up, the office that he gathered volunteer funds for, got taken over by the person who came in as a state director. So with that being said, that wouldn't be a bad idea, right? Except for they didn't tell him. He came back and found out, yeah, your office is taking over. Thanks for all the hard work you did. Bye. No, that's not okay. And why would you, it doesn't make any sense really why you would try to do something like that without telling somebody. So we have events getting canceled. We have volunteers being pushed out because he was not the only volunteer pushed out. We had one of our greatest organizers in Wilmington strong-armed out. We had anybody with any common sense who could see through this nonsense were all pushed out. Every time we asked a question, we were ignored. Every time we tried to bring up something, we were deflected. Every single time we tried to hold an event that the campaign itself didn't sponsor before we started, it was completely pushed out to the point where we held a march on the 13th, and we agreed it was just best to keep the campaign out of it, because for whatever reason, every single time the campaign got involved in something, boom, it was done. It was over. We knew it wasn't going to happen. So with that being said, we have people, I could go on for literally days about all the things that have been going on in North Carolina. And the greatest part about this is, and I say great, I mean that sarcastically, as you see in my other video that I posted about this exact same subject, this is not only unique to North Carolina, this is every single place. Every single southern state, this has happened. And it's a lot easier to manipulate southern states if you're a Democrat or in a Democratic primary, because they're all fearful right now that they won't have a job after this election because of how much power the Republicans have in their respective offices. So we have all this going on, and then I know personally a senator or a mayor who tried to endorse Bernie. I know personally NAACP members that tried to endorse Bernie. I know personally African American caucus members that tried to endorse Bernie. Every single one of them tried to get in touch with the campaign. Every single one of them were deflected. Every single one of them were ignored. Now, these are all facts. If you have any more questions about it, feel free to ask me. However, to keep pretending as if these facts are insignificant, whereas they could be insignificant if they were taken apart, and looked at individually, but when you combine them all together, I will say it like this. Everyone wants to talk about how silly and fraudulent conspiracy theories are. But if conspiracies weren't that big of a deal, then conspiring against certain elected offices wouldn't be a felony crime. These are real problems, and this is open and blatant corruption. And the problem with the whole Hillary Clinton campaign, the fact that she's still even allowed to run, is because y'all keep allowing open and blatant corruption and calling it conspiracy theory. Yes, it's a conspiracy theory. You know what the first step in solving scientific issues and problems are? Formulating a theory. This is common sense. So we're not going to keep looking at a zebra and trying to call it a lion. We're going to call it what it is. And I promise you, we're going to get down to this. We're going to figure this out, and this will not be the end of it. We'll get this video to Bernie. Bernie supporters will keep doing what they've been doing. The volunteers will keep rallying. And if we have to go to the Democratic National Convention and burn it down, figuratively, we will. This will not be the election that democracy dies, ladies and gentlemen. I promise that. Thank you all. Share this video. Make sure it gets out to Bernie. We're working on an effort right now to get all this information out. If you personally feel like you have any grievances against or questions more so against something that somebody's done at your state level, let us know in the comments, or you can message me on this page as well, and we will write your name and email. I should be sending out that email about 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to the campaigns through the various emails that we have. With that being said, thanks for watching. Please share this video. Hey everybody, so long story short, we have some recent developments in the story with the corruption, and because of what I just got confirmed by a journalist, I can go ahead and start naming names. And I told you, y'all weren't gonna get away with this, and I don't know why y'all thought the internet wasn't a thing and that people couldn't make connections. So here's the deal. Aisha, yes you, and I hope you're watching this. We know you work for Hillary. We know that you were blatantly and not even subtly destroying the campaign from within. You have no credentials. You destroyed a campaign before single-handedly, accidentally. So the fact that anybody believed that you were capable of running an entire state was completely beyond me. But I digress. Because we know that you were connected to Hillary. We've seen your Facebook. We see your picture with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Anyone with any kind of common sense knows and knew at the time that you took the picture, which was around November, right before you were hired, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was obviously against Bernie and supporting Hillary, but yet you decided you want to take a picture with her. But hey, maybe you just did it for political clout, and I got that. Except for I saw your Facebook before you were hired, because I didn't tell you, nor did anyone else tell you, because I told you not to. I saw that you were phone banking for Hillary. You were advertising for it all over your Facebook. I saw all your little friends on your Facebook page posting pro-Hillary stuff. You blatantly lied. You lied so many times. You didn't respond to the NAACP members that tried to get in contact with the Sanders campaign. You did not respond to Mayor Chris Wray. You did not respond to anybody who tried to endorse Bernie Sanders. But hey, maybe the districts or the precincts that our 4 offices were in did pretty well. Actually, no, they didn't. Ironically enough, there's places where our offices were, we actually did the worst in. Yeah, we had 0 offices in Chapel Hill, but we actually won. We have supposedly offices in Durham. There were 2 signs in all of Durham for Bernie. We had signs in Mecklenburg. We had an office in Mecklenburg, did bad. Apparently we had it. Bottom line is, we did the worst in Charlotte. That was your city. Oh, but maybe I'm just being too harsh. Maybe I am. I could be being too harsh. Except for when I found out that you're connected to Robert Dempsey. And yes, Mr. Robert, I know you're friends too. And I know for a fact that you are an avid Hillary supporter. In fact, it's all over the internet. It's all over the internet. But I didn't have to find out from the internet because I know your friends. Robert Dempsey in some way, if not directly, indirectly pushed for Aisha to be hired here. That is the only way that Aisha could have gotten through the vetting process, because she obviously didn't get vetted. Because anyone with any type of common sense could have known that this woman was completely incapable of running any type of campaign in North Carolina. Nobody in the African American caucus likes her. That should tell you something right there. Not to mention, in Durham, when we made an office, the president of the African American caucus had no idea that we had an office there. That's information that you have to blatantly withhold from somebody. And if not, you're a horrible state director for not telling her. Robert Dempsey, this man has been an avid Hillary supporter forever. How he got onto Bernie's campaign is beyond me. From what I understand, he worked in Vermont. But in North Carolina, he was the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party at one point. If you know anything about the North Carolina Democratic Party, they are possibly the most corrupt. They are possibly the most corrupt Democrats that I have ever seen in my life. They tried to take down Obama by essentially gathering all of the senators and trying to push an anti-Obama movement in 2012. Because they thought their jobs would be on the line because how many white people at the time were dissatisfied with Obama, and so that's what they pushed. Robert knew about this, and the person who really knew about it was the person who pushed for Robert. Patsy! Yes, Patsy! Another avid Hillary supporter. And one thing that you all need to know about the North Carolina Democratic Party is that that entire establishment is all avid Hillary supporters. Now, how this got through the cracks, I don't know. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I got some more information for you all. Stay tuned. Patsy Keever, you owe some explanations too, and I hope this gets to you. Because I know that you're directly connected to Robert. I know that Robert's directly connected to Aisha. Now, what scares me, and I don't want to think about this at all, but we have to now, because we know that you are all avid Hillary supporters literally up until like 7 months ago. What scares me is the fact that this guy Robert has clout in Bernie's campaign. I mean some serious clout. Because consider this. Consider the fact that Aisha was hired without being vetted. And I'm talking about you. They didn't even go to her Facebook. Obviously. So imagine who else this Robert character could have gotten in as a state director. Because there were literally probably 15 or 20 candidates that were just so much better to hire. That were already doing a lot of groundwork before Aisha started taking over the campaign. Because nobody knew this woman. Other than she was a blatant failure and she bankrupted an entirely different campaign before she got brought onto this one. But why weren't you working for Bernie before you were hired? The campaign had been going on for 6 or 7 months at the time. It's because somebody placed you there, isn't it, Aisha? And I knew it. That's why I don't pick up your phone calls, because I know. So this is the message that we will be giving out to all of the grassroots organizers right now. Until we get confirmation from Bernie, do not work with the official campaign in your state until we can figure out who we can trust. Because these people turned away the NAACP members of our state. They turned away Mayor Chris Ray. They turned away other candidates. They turned away everybody who tried to. Bernie did not meet with any black leaders in North Carolina. The home of Durham, which is a 65% African American community that is extremely prominent in the South, met with zero. Didn't meet with the African American Caucus president. Didn't meet with the NAACP president. Didn't meet with anybody. He met with one person. And that had to be forced after Aisha had gotten into an argument with the person for the lady trying to introduce Bernie in the character. So do not, until we can figure out exactly what's going on in this campaign, exactly how much power and clout this Robert character has, do not. I promise you, the NC Democratic Party is possibly one of the slickest Democratic parties as far as being corrupt in the entire nation. They're all about their money. There is no difference between North Carolina Democratic Party members than Republicans. I'm telling you this from my personal experience. They've corrupted our entire political process here, not just one. I'm talking about to the point where they're passing out pamphlets asking for who are people going to vote for and leaving off every single black candidate off of the pamphlets. For gubernatorial elections, senator elections, House of Representatives, everything, they left all the black members off. They are just as bad as the Republicans. Please, for the sake of this election, until we can figure out exactly who is doing this hiring and if Robert really has that much clout, because he was already a state director at one point. There's no coincidence that he was in North Carolina and he used to be our Democratic Party. That's the only way he would know Aisha, because Aisha's a part of the African American caucus. I don't care how black she is. Nobody likes her here. Nobody likes her. I know. I'm part of it. So
Keep your heads on a swivel. Organize through grassroots volunteer means only. Do not, seriously, do not reach out until we can get confirmation. I'm not saying everyone on the official campaign is bad, because I know personally I have friends that worked on our campaigns for an official tenure, and they were great, and they are helping out with this process. So when I say that, don't take it personally, anybody who works for the campaign. But this is about Bernie, and this is about this country. Do not reach out to the heads of these states right now, because we have no idea how many people have infiltrated the campaign at this point, because Aisha was so easily placed even after the entire state knew that she was working for Hillary, or that she was advocating for Hillary to begin with. Once I get more names, I'll start releasing them, because now we're starting to get confirmation and everything is starting to add up. If you have not watched the other videos, and this is your first video and this is the first video that you've watched, please go watch the other videos, and a lot of this will start making a lot more sense. Until then, if anybody has any new information to introduce, please bring it to the table, because the fact that people have been bringing this newly introduced information is what is going to save this campaign right now, and we got to speak up. And we have to get Bernie to speak up. And I can finally say what I was going to say, and I didn't want to say it until I got the information, I figured out the names, and I figured out what we could do. We need to push for Bernie Sanders to sue for re-election. As extreme as it may sound, it's great change. It's not made through doing what you've always done. We can't fight the establishment by ourselves. We can't, because they control the entire system right now. And if we sue at the Supreme Court level for a re-election, Bernie's already proven that his lawyers and his team is good in Ohio, because they overturned and sued rather quickly in Ohio over the age discrepancy for voter registration. So we need to encourage Bernie Sanders to sue for re-election, and if the case is found that Hillary was actively conspiring to corrupt this election, we may not have to worry about running against Hillary. The primary may just be Bernie's to begin with. All right, Bernie's counting on us. Let's get it. Hey everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. In case many of you don't know, my name is Niko House. I was the one who made the initial video essentially questioning some of the practices that were going on in North Carolina. And this video I wasn't actually going to make at first until I received some new information this morning confirming what I had initially thought. And so we decided to go ahead and bring some of these things into question. So very quickly, yesterday I received a phone call from the deputy field director of the national campaign. His name is Christopher Smith. And what he informed me was that he was the one who had hired Aisha Due, and which is perfectly fine. You know, it is what it is. I questioned him, and the first thing I asked, of course, because this is the question that has been plaguing the internet recently, is why? What exactly made you think that this person was qualified to run North Carolina? And I asked him, and he said that he had worked with her before when he was working on another campaign in North Carolina. That raised red flags to me, because the guy that he worked for was progressive. I know Aisha Due. I know people she works for, and not one of them are progressive. They're all establishment. She doesn't work for campaigns that she thinks she will lose or has a chance to lose. Not unless there's something in it for her. So, with that being said, I automatically raised questions. Because I'm like, you say you work with Aisha, but I know for a fact you didn't work with her on the campaign that you were on, that you were hired to do. And so I questioned him again. I said, I heard you worked with her. That's fine. So exactly what made you think she was qualified? Then he pitched to me the black line, which is usually goes a little something like, think about the opportunities for black people that we don't have, and A, B, C, D. the same shit that they've been preaching to, I'm sure, to all the African American caucus members and all the black congressional caucus members that endorse Hillary, saying, think about the opportunities we'll have. We will be helping each other out. Sacrifice a little bit of your principle now to give, to hopefully give an opportunity later. That's what we've been getting pitched to us. That's what got pitched to me. And it went from think about that to, well, think about you don't want to sever any connections. You don't want to sever any opportunities for your political career. And I'm like, sorry, I didn't say I wanted to run for anything. I didn't say I was ever going to be in politics. I wasn't even planning on being in politics this year. This kind of happened by coincidence just because of how much I appreciate Bernie's authenticity. So that line was never going to work on me. And it sounds like a line that I've heard plenty of times as a Hillary pitch or an establishment pitch. And so that, number two, raised red flags for me. So then the last thing that raised red flags for me was that he said he was a deputy field director, or not the last thing, but another thing that raised red flags for me. He said he was a deputy field director of the national campaign. Two things wrong with that. I asked him, did you contact Shannon Jackson like I asked? When I emailed Shannon, I said, I would prefer not to be contacted by anyone who isn't in the Sanders family or Shannon Jackson himself, because I don't trust anyone in that campaign right now for very obvious reasons that were confirmed today and that will be getting released, hopefully, if not today, then tomorrow in this story, because we keep pushing the stories back because people keep coming forward. And so with that being said, he said, no, I didn't consult with anybody. I said, well, why didn't you consult with the national campaign? Because I would assume this is a press matter. And don't y'all have people to deal with these situations that should have contacted me first before you took it upon yourself to contact me? And then he starts insulting my intelligence, telling me what I don't understand about politics, what I don't know about, the campaign. Like I haven't been involved in it way before he was, 6 or 7 months before he was, that I don't know how things are run. And, because then he went from trying to do that, then he realized that wasn't happening. So then he tried to patronize me and appeal to my ambition. And that didn't work. And so then he tried to name drop people that I know personally as if they would vouch for him. And the only thing they said is, yeah, this person worked for me as a recruiter. And that was it. So that being said, how did you go from being a recruiter on a progressive campaign to meeting Aisha Du, who is not progressive at all, does not work with the African American caucus, did not work with that campaign at all, to becoming the deputy field director for the presidential campaign of Bernie Sanders? Now we get back to the same old damn story that we keep. And I thought that North Carolina was an anomaly, and I thought like, okay, this is happening everywhere, so it's not that big of a deal. Then I always forget how close we are to DC. I always forget how important Chapel Hill and UNC and the UNC system is to DC. And I always, I forget these things because when you live inside something, you kind of take it for granted and move on. But once again, the common denominator is North Carolina. You come down to North Carolina to help out with a progressive campaign that was more or less working with zero money. Once again, I told you before that the Democratic Party decided to put their money into individual candidates, which was against the rules, but they were doing it anyway. And so all the progressive candidates were being obstructed financially by the Democratic Party that they were filing under, that they were running under. So, I said, okay, so who vetted her? Oh, I did. Whoa, okay, well, that's interesting. So you know about her quality. Okay, so exactly, she couldn't even run a campaign in a county. What made you think that she was qualified to run for the state, or to run a state? Well, who else was an African American that could have ran that state? I said, that's a little insulting, considering I know for a fact that you got over 40 applications, and you're trying to convince me not one of them was a minority. And I know for a fact that I know people in the African American caucus or in the Democratic Party, or people who are even volunteering, that would have been amazing for the state, that I know would have hired black people, that I know would have hired Hispanics, that I know who would have hired Arabs and Desis and Muslims. So that didn't work, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you're truly believing in this revolution that you're working for, then you would know that Bernie Sanders is doing this so that we don't have to do shady dealings in order for us to make and create opportunity for ourselves and others. If you truly believe and you truly understood that revolution. And so With that being said, I questioned then, said, hey, very nicely, if you would like for me to trust you, I just need to know who you work for so that I know who hired you so that I know I can trust you. I got no response. Said, hey, I understand you said you want to do what's best for Bernie. But if like I said, if I'm going to trust you, I have to know who hired you. No response. Now, this is speculative, but when you don't contact the campaign first, when I'm having a conversation with you, you get really defensive. You actually not giving me any reason for the qualifications why Aisha is qualified to run this state. And in the same time that the Democratic candidate was known for being part of Hillary's campaign, you come to North Carolina. You come to North Carolina. You end up deputy field director of the national campaign, and Aisha gets coincidentally placed as the state director. And people knew that Aisha was going to be placed as state director weeks before, which means that was already news within the Democratic Party of North Carolina. Look,